Hey y'all, I'm gonna put on a little lip gloss. I was gonna say chapstick, but we all know it's just lip gloss. So we're gonna get down to it tonight, honestly. So I'm gonna be talking about something I mention often, but I don't really go into detail that much about. I've had periods of time where I talked a lot about my recovery, and then I have times where I don't, but I think it's relevant because I think to some extent we're all in recovery from something. So sometimes we're in recovery from an eating disorder, sometimes we're in addiction recovery, and sometimes we're in recovery from just being people pleasers, doormats, whatever, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about my recovery journey, but specifically in the context of something I had to learn in recovery that really helps me as a caregiver. And I hope it'll help you too. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm trying to wait to see if anybody will hop on tonight. But technically, I said I was starting at 6:55, but really, I'll probably start here in a few minutes. But so I'm just kind of probably should have cleaned up my space before, but I've been running today. Very productive day, but also not a lot of time to prep my space here. But now I think I'm all ready. One more thing. I get questions a lot from caregivers. One thing that a lot of people talk about is just how they never feel like they have any, like they don't know what to do with time, even if they were to have it. And that's what happens when you ignore what you love and what you need for a long time. Then you have a hard time figuring out how to listen to yourself when you actually do have the time to do it. So, excuse me, that's one of the things that we work on in the self-caregiver community, which is it's a free community where everybody in there is a caregiver. Some people have been caregivers for a long time. Some people are just starting their caregiver journey, and other people are kind of on the other side of it. Their loved one has passed away, but they still are trying to figure out, okay, now what? And so we have people at all different phases of the caregiver journey. And one of the things about the self-caregiver Facebook group, it's a Facebook group. It might be in another place eventually, but right now it's on Facebook. Let's face it, we're all there, even though we don't want to admit it. But over there, we spend a lot of time not talking about the different caregiver things. We talk about how we approach caregiving in the context of also acknowledging our own needs. And so we talk more about, our plan to say no to something from a caregiver side so that we can say yes to something on a parent side, or on a, some people like to, they want to go be with their grandchildren, but they normally are taking care of their mom, so they have to say no to their mom so they can go spend some time with their grandchildren or something like that. And so we do that, but then we also talk about like, okay, I really don't even know what I need. I don't know, or I don't even know what I like. And so we talk about different fun ideas. And so what I love to do is every time I come across somebody that really has a self-care expertise of some kind, I invite them to share about that in the community, and of course sometimes on the podcast too. So go check out those resources. I've got some links in my bio you can go check out, or you can just comment that you want to know more about the community or you want the podcast, and I'll send you the links to those. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as we start today, I'm going to be talking about burnout. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in regard to burnout. So I want to give you a little context of like, where did the phrase burnout even come from? And then I'm going to talk about why often our attempts to fix our burnout or get out of burnout or avoid burnout aren't working. And then I'll share my little recovery tip, why it worked for me in recovery, and then how it can help you in caregiving and self-care. So we're going to kind of do, that's our framework. That's what we're going to do tonight. So the first thing, we throw around the phrase burnout a lot, whether it's in the context of caregiver burnout or you've heard it in the business world, whatever. Burnout, it's a thing. We always say, I'm just burnout, And we act like it's just an inevitable thing. And we act like it's like, oh, it just means I'm extra tired or I'm overwhelmed. I'm just burnt out. And we toss it off like it's kind of a nonchalant thing that we can't do anything about, that we have no control over, and that is something that we just have to deal with or live with. Well, here's the problem with that, is it's called burnout, not burn down to a fizzle. Burnout implies that you're out, you're gone, you're done. And I think when we're really thinking about that chronic burnout that never seems to go away, we are dismissing it as just being tired all the time, when really we're putting ourselves, our lives in danger. But I wanted to learn, I'm a word nerd, so I wanted to learn about like, okay, where's the origin of the word burnout? Well, there was a doctor, a psychologist, I think his name was Freudenberger. And he was a psychologist. He worked with addicts at a clinic. And he loved his job, but, it was taking its toll on him. So he noticed that he was becoming angrier, more frustrated, less sympathetic. He couldn't seem to disconnect from the work. So he was, ruminating about it a lot. His family expressed that he was, angry and volatile. Even if he wasn't violent, he was still just like walking around on eggshells all the time. And then something happened. His family finally convinced him that he needed to go on vacation. Like, oh, you just need, you need a break. You need a vacation. Does that sound familiar? Right? We say it to ourselves. Oh, we're burnt out. We just need a vacation. Well, here's what happened. They plan a trip. They're going to go. The family's going to go on vacation. They go to sleep. They're going to get up the next day and hop on a plane. He wakes up the next day, cannot move. He physically cannot move. His body literally said no. It shut down. And he described that as burnout. And he gave it the name burnout because he was used to watching, and this is another significant thing, I think, when he would counsel the addicts in the clinic, they would often be, holding a cigarette, smoking it, and then they would let it burn out without even noticing. It would burn all the way to their fingers, and they wouldn't even know and just fall out. They were so unaware of the burnout that they didn't even feel it until it was too late. That is what is happening with us when we're experiencing burnout, especially when we can't get out of the cycle of burnout. Maybe we do get that break. We get to sleep in once a week, maybe if we're lucky, right? And then we find ourselves burning out again and again and again. And every time we do that, we are setting ourselves up not to just be tired all the time, not to just be cranky, not to just maybe like poor decisions or not able to make decision fatigue, okay? That is part of it. But that is not why it's important to not live in burnout. It is important to not live in burnout because it can be devastating And I hate to say this, but it is also something that can kill you. If you are not in a place where you can take the time you need to take care of yourself, burnout is not about being too tired. Burnout is not about, being cranky, being grumpy, not having the time you want. Burnout is about your life. And that is why I am so passionate about helping caregivers. And I don't even say avoid burnout, because let's face it, if you're a caregiver, you're there. You're there. I've known caregivers that have been caregivers for 20 years. I know caregivers who've been caregivers for literally 2 months, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm going to burn out. Like, they know burnout is right there. And if you don't see it coming, it's too late. You're already in it. So maybe if you're lucky and you're not in the thick of caregiving yet, you can put things in place to avoid the burnout. And of course, I am totally happy to help you with that too. But if you are already a caregiver and you've been a caregiver for any length of time, chances are you're burnout. So what do we do to get out of that cycle? Because you've already noticed that everything you're trying isn't helping. I mean, I noticed that. I noticed that everything I tried, like, yeah, it would be nicer for a couple days, or I'd feel like, oh, this is great. I feel great. I got a great night's sleep, or I was able to, go away for the weekend. And then within a couple of weeks, if I was lucky, sometimes it was like a couple of days, because you never know when the phone call is going to come. You never know when the next shoe is going to drop. You never know when the next emergency room visit is. So as soon as something like that happens, you're back up into crisis mode, and the burnout it's like a flare up, right? Like you're like, oh, I thought I had fixed that. I thought that was gone. No. It was right there. You just kind of tamped it down a little bit, and now it's full blown fire. And when I explain my burnout, when I talk about my burnout in the context of my caregiving, I often explain it. I do say I was burning to the ground. It wasn't just burnout. Like, I was ceasing to exist as a person. I was barely hanging on. And that is why I decided to do something about it. Now, here's one of the things, and this is where we get to talk a little bit about, like, I'm just going to share a little bit of my recovery journey just to relate that to how this particular thing from recovery helped me in my caregiving journey and my getting out of burnout cycle. Am I going to say that I've never pushed the limits? And, in December, when I had one parent in hospice and another in ICU on a ventilator, yes, I was not sleeping as much as I would like to, but I did have some things in place that helped me get through that. But, the idea is like to not be in that constant cycle, which is what it was in, when I decided, okay, I can't live like this, like literally, I'm not going to be able to survive. So, when I was in recovery from an eating disorder and disordered eating behaviors, body image stuff, I thought I could just educate myself out of it. I thought I could learn enough psychology. I thought I could study, as a person of faith. I was like, oh, I'm going to study the Bible. I'm going to read all these Bible study books. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to pray a lot. And that's going to make that's going to heal me. And while I do believe that my faith journey is part of my healing story, with that, here's what I finally had to realize. And for me, it was through the help of a therapist. But I was so deprived of the things I needed, namely nutrients, that my brain was not able to understand the words I was reading, to comprehend, to store and process the information. Like, I literally wasn't physically capable of doing that. I wasn't doing the basics so that all of that other stuff could work. All of the education, all of the information, all of the, spiritual disciplines, whatever. That stuff was helpful to some extent, but I couldn't cross over into actually moving forward in recovery until I said, I'm actually going to eat enough to sustain my body. And you're like, what does this have to do with caregiver burnout? Well, here's the thing. This is how I think it's related. And this is why I think this is important and why I thought I'd share that. Is I think when caregivers think about burnout, we all know we're in it. Okay, we're like, okay, I'm burnout. I need blank. And we say, I need a vacation. I need a day off. I need time to myself. I need a massage. I need, I need to go surfing, whatever it is, right? And we go do that thing and we feel better, but it doesn't sustain us. And that's because what we really need is to go to the basics. We need to, and like some of this is the same thing. We need to make sure that we are nourishing our bodies. We need to make sure that we are hydrating. We need to make sure that we are getting enough sleep. These are the basics, and moving our bodies in ways that are helpful to us. Those are the basic things that everybody needs. Sleep, nourishment, movement, and connection. These are all things that we need that are the basics. And we want to go straight to the vacation, the spa day, the boys' weekend, the, whatever. We want to go to all of that, which is, please do those things. I do when I can. But really, in order to not continue a cycle of burnout, you are going to have to make sure that you're tending to the basic needs. And that is not something that you can do once a week, once a month, once a quarter. Those are things that have to happen every single day. And I think that is the big disconnect when it comes to talking about, if you read an article about caregiver burnout, it talks about self-care. And it's like, okay, but we're thinking about self-care as one of those extra bonus points, the field trips, right? And really what we need to be thinking about is, how am I tending to myself every single day? Now, depending on your caregiving situation, you may be like, well, that's great, but I can't go away for an hour, a weekend, a week, once a quarter, much less once a day, because, and there's a whole bunch of reasons. Now, I will tell you, I talk with caregivers every day and help them find solutions for those types of things. But let's say that's true. Let's say it literally is the way it is. You are your person's only person. You live in a situation, there is no one else. You are there 24/7 and do not have any way to have that hour-long break or sleep whenever you feel like you need it, all of those things. I know what it's like to be there too. I haven't had to do that for as long as some of you have to do that, but I do understand. I do know what that's like. And I'm telling you right now that while it's still helpful to look for support and ways that maybe you could get the sleep you need, you could get some respite, examine if there are resources that you're not aware of or maybe would be available to you now that weren't the last time you checked, because things change all the time. Don't discount the 5 minutes. I swear by 5 minutes of self-care things, including, a 5-minute rest. Now, can you get a full-blown nap? Absolutely. But you can take a 5-minute rest. I'm a big, huge fan of just remembering to breathe and paying attention to your breath for 5 minutes. And I am a big, huge fan of being intentional with your thoughts and exploring the concept of guided meditation and guided thinking, which is why I am so excited that I just was able to create something for those of you, whether you want to use this in those emergency situations where the phone has rung, you got to drop everything and go to the ER or go to your parents' house or go to your loved one to take care of them, something unexpected happens and you need 5 minutes, you can use these guided meditations. Or if you're in a situation where you don't, you're not waiting for the phone call because they're right there. You're right there with them, but you need just 5 minutes of you time. 5 minutes to remember that you are a breathing, worthy human. 5 minutes to remember who you are, what your core values are, what your value as a person. 5 minutes to yourself. I created these 3 guided meditations. I call it the hit pause and press on, because we all know we can't just hit stop. We got to hit pause, do some meditation, do some breathing, whatever we need for that 5 minutes. If you're one of those people that it's like, I just need 5 minutes, that's what this is for. Hit pause and press on for 5 minutes. These are 3 guided meditations. One focuses on your breath, one is a guided meditation, and one is a visualization. They're all under 5 minutes, and you can download them. So if you want this, you can just put in the chat, put in the comments, comment like hit pause or meditation, and I will send you the link to sign up. But you can get these. They'll be right on your phone. You can use them anytime. Like I said, I specifically designed these for you to have on your person, or, because we always have our phones on us. So you can get them anytime you need them and listen to them. It's just 5 minutes. That may be all the time you have. One of them's, I think, even 4 minutes. You can listen. It will help you. Even if you just have 5 minutes, it's worth spending the 5 minutes. Don't discount it because it's only 5 minutes and it's not a full-blown spa day or a full-blown vacation. 5 minutes can be enough to get you started on reclaiming your time and reclaiming a bit of yourself. And I really hope that you will do that today, because, it can't get more basic than breathing. And I want to make sure that you are covering your basics so that you can stop the burnout cycle and maybe even avoid it. So that is all we have for this evening. I got to go make sure the cookies aren't burnt because I told somebody to get them out of the oven and I don't think they did. So I will see you guys next week. If you want those guided meditations, just put in the comments, hit pause. You can also put meditation, either one of those things, and I will send you the details so that you can grab that download and you can have them on you at all times. Thank you so much, you guys. Y'all have a great night, and I will see you again next week. Okay.